Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Tales from the Coven.
Hello.
We have a super special guest today who just happens to be my son.
Hi.
So, at home, and for people that are extra familiar with you, everyone calls you Deuce.
Yeah.
But your real name is John.
Yeah. Not the legal name, but that's the normal name that everyone calls me that I know.
that you respond to mostly.
Yeah,
That
I've
you say,
had since I was forever.
yeah, since you're born, basically. You were little Deuce the minute you were born.
Yeah.
So, Deucey, kind of introduce yourself a little bit. I mean, other than the fact that you're my child,
All
but
right. Yeah. My name's Deuce. Um, I'm the child of the lovely Siren, my mom. Uh, I mean, there's not really much to tell right now. I mean, I'm still just beginning life. I mean, I'm not that old. I'm mid-20s now. Jesus Christ.
you're a very old soul, though, Deuce.
I
You
know.
always have.
I know. I know. But no, I've always had interest in history, mythology, historical sword fighting. You kind of name it, anything that's old, I generally have been attracted to. I mean, even when I was younger, I mean, you knew that. I mean, I was always like pirates and, you know, knights and Vikings and all that kind of stuff. And I think when older, I think the mythology aspect kind of started come into my vision a little more, and I was like, oh, let me do some little exploring here, and you know, so
I think you've personally, I think, and I always had told you that you've always been very in touch with your past lives.
yeah,
Um, and some people are, and some people come back and they completely forget things, which is part of their journey.
right.
But you always had that feel that you were really in the wrong time, kid.
Yeah, always have, and it's weird, like especially when it came to like growing up and kind of maturing, getting a job and becoming an adult and having my own thoughts and things of that nature. I mean, I really started to connect with the older things and realize, this time frame now, it doesn't feel right. Like this time period in which I'm in, it doesn't feel what I've been used to, I should say.
You and you've always, how do I say, you've always lived by, I don't know if it's the right word term, but basically like a different moral code.
Yeah, a moral code. Yeah. Well, and I mean, to kind of jump almost headfirst into it, it's
I
like,
know. I'm like, we're just going
well, yeah. I
jumping
mean,
feet first in.
with how we talk, I mean, yeah, that's usually how it goes. Um, like I reading the Havamal. I don't know if you were very aware of it, Mom. It's pretty much like it's a set of moral codes essentially that was written in the Poetic Edda as stanzas, and they were written as teachings from Odin to basically how to live your life, just a moral code essentially. And it's funny because when I remember first reading them, I was like, this is weird because like a lot of these like I live by like, but not it was never consciously. You know what I mean?
You just
It,
always did.
I always did, you know, and yeah, it's like I said, it's funny you say that I've always kind of lived by an older, I guess, moral code, but that's just what I was when when I came to be. That's how I thought. That's always how I thought.
I mean, honestly, I can say, like, from the time you were very little,
Yeah,
you and your sister both were very different kids.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, you didn't, how do I want to say, you tried to fit in,
Well, yeah, I mean,
To
to an
I mean,
extent,
because we
that
have to
that
to a
that's a
to an
that's a
extent.
that's normal human nature is the
Yeah,
want to fit in and not be the quote unquote black sheep or whatever, but
but
just kind of
you were a little different, and you were always, and I don't even know if you remember. I mean, you were tiny.
mhm.
You loved swords,
Oh yeah.
shields, knives, weapons. You loved weapons from the time you were like running through the house, like probably one and a half, two, like in a diaper, and that's it, with swords.
Yeah.
That's always been you.
I and it's so true because I mean, and then it just translates to how I am now. I mean, I granted I don't do it nearly as much as I wish I could, especially with
Um,
my job right now. But um, the whole historical swordsmanship, HEMA, that that stuff, I had an instant calling to it when I started it when I was 16.
and you were good at it.
Yeah, and I loved it. I mean, I wasn't good at it. I wouldn't say that. I
Yes,
mean,
you were.
I didn't know what I was doing when I first held the sword. I was like, "What?" But
But okay, proud mom moment. Who won silver
I
at
know. Well,
18?
that was what with how it goes a couple years, you know.
But still,
I understand.
18, you were winning awards for sword fighting.
I know. And I'm granted and like it is crazy to think about every time I look at them because it's like at that time, so like now with that tournament that I used to go to a lot, they have now a minor division. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I had to fight people that were like twice, almost three times my age.
Deuce, I was just telling somebody, that's funny. I was just telling somebody the other day that I was tattooing. Um, I don't remember, honestly, don't remember how it came up, but something came up about my son does sword fighting.
Right.
And I said, you will never understand is to have fear as a mother until you see your son, who is 18, go up against a man they call the mountain.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'm like, this dude was literally the size of freaking mountain. And here's my son fighting him with swords.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, what? And I was like, yeah, because that's who he had to fight to get through the tournament and win.
It's just it's pretty humorous to think about it at that time. I mean, yeah, and now I mean I can't even imagine trying to go back and fight in the tournaments. I mean I'd love to one of these days. I'd like to go back and
I'm
jump.
sure you will.
I know one of these days I will for sure. But it's so crazy to think about now. I mean
Well,
I was a child. I mean still am, but I mean like I was really a child then.
when you
You know.
started, yeah, Deuce, I
Yeah.
had to drive you
Yeah.
to practice.
Yeah. I know.
Which, what does that say about me as a mom? Here, let me drive my child to go like
Hit
be
people with steel
hit people
objects and
with steel objects and get hit with steel objects. I don't know, it's what you loved. But on that, like I feel like you've always been drawn to those things because again, you were still in touch with your past lives.
yeah, well, absolutely. And I mean, I've even so kind of I sound like a broken record occasionally, but to go back to the fact of like when I was coming of age, growing up, the spiritual kind of to segue into that spiritual awakening almost really started to come to me because I never I never dreamed much as a child. Even now, I really don't dream much, but when I do, they're very very strong, very impactful, and I remember them most of the time.
Those are the ones you're supposed to remember.
Right, and like there was a couple times like I've written them down. Um,
Good. You do listen to your mom.
I do, yeah. Um, Granted, these ones are a little bit on the older side, but I kind of just want to share it because this one always kind of spoke out to me. Yeah, so I don't remember this. Oh God, when was this? Oh, this is March 19th of 2019.
Oh, okay.
So it was a while ago, a long time ago.
That was before you moved.
Yes, very much so. But this one always kind of stuck out to me. I always liked this one. So it goes, a vision appears before me as I close my eyes. I am taken to a time before technological ties. Calm and collected, I begin to see a battlefield with dead before me, blood splattered hands and sword crimson red. A man charges with a sword aimed at my head. I raise up with a second. He's dead. Rage fills my body like an infectious plague. That man I remember so vague. The dead man rises up. Slowly applauding, he states this phrase: how far you have come from such previous lives of misery and pain. In anger, I descend into a craze. I catch myself, not letting me, fall into a haze. I lower my weapon and sit. Your pain still controls you, you must admit. For this current life you live is it. A path of a warrior you contain, yet balance is what you must obtain. I shut my eyes and awaken to see I've been in my room the entire time. What could this mean? It was kind of poetic right on to it, you know what I mean? But that's that was like that was a big deal for me.
Well, and one, I always love your writing.
I know. I haven't written in a while.
I know. And let's kind of explain that. So um Deuce moved to Montana.
Yeah.
Um, and as you guys know, we live in Southern California. So that was a huge thing, right? He moved up there and to be with the love of his life.
Soon to be wife.
I was just going to say, which I'm so excited, soon to be wife.
Yes.
We love her too. Like, I can totally see why you guys match so well.
Yes.
But so in the process of that, obviously, that was a big change for you.
Yeah, very big change. Very big change. Life changing. I mean, I had to drop a lot of things in my life that I used to do on a consistent basis to come up here and pursue another life, essentially.
Right, exactly. But you've got a great job. It just takes a lot of your time right now, which, like we've talked, you're at that point in life where other things are going to take a couple steps back, and then they'll come back, once you have more free time.
Right.
But you're taking care of what you need to take care of now, which is, you and your future wife.
Yeah. Right.
Um,
It's not to say, like spirituality is completely gone away. I mean, it's always stayed with me. I mean, being raised by you, I mean, it's one of those things that just came naturally, and it's a big part of my life, and it always has been. Whether it's me burning an incense here and there just to kind of cleanse the energy or help me from a really stressful day, and cleanse my own energy,
exactly.
and like I always wear my moon pendant, which actually is probably not on me right now. No, because I took it off. I know.
Oh,
Well, it's in my bedroom.
you
Yeah,
always wear.
I know. I usually don't take it off much besides the shower and sometimes the sleep. Sometimes, but
But you've always, you know, spirituality. We again, you guys, we have these talks. I have these talks with both of my kids for hours. Like, this is normal, hours and hours of
yeah,
talk.
literally the other day when we talked, I mean, I don't even. I think that phone call was 2.5 hours almost. It was
Two and a
almost
half
three
hours.
hours.
Yeah, almost 3 hours. I know, almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
But that's great. I love that.
Oh,
Like, I would
absolutely.
have it no other way. I
Yeah.
really, like,
Absolutely. I wouldn't
I don't
change
have
it for the
any.
world.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate and I'm thankful,
Mhm.
literally on a daily basis, that when you guys decided to come back into this world, you picked me as your mom,
All
because
right.
it wasn't the most normal life.
No,
It was
no,
crazy. You
but
worked a lot to support us.
yeah,
We had a lot of stuff going on, but you guys decided
yeah,
to be your mom.
and whether it was our choosing or if it was of a greater power that said, "Hey, she is going to be your guide
Yeah,
to further better, your spirit, your soul for the next life, or maybe to
maybe this is the last one.
right or the last one."
We
it's
hope, right?
right. You don't know, but that's the thing is like it was destined to be, whether it was our own choosing or whether it was of someone else's. I mean, it's not something I'd change. I mean, I've learned a
Aw,
lot. I mean, which I have. I mean, I wouldn't trade, the things I've learned from you for the world. I mean, I've been made a better person for it. I'm not a perfect person, but no perfect person is.
nope. We always say that nobody's
Right.
perfect.
No one is perfect, but I have learned a hell of a lot because of the even just the small teachings, from growing up, from just be yourself, embrace yourself, follow what you're passionate about, whether it's you're passionate for, a week about it, whatever,
We
follow it.
always told you,
I
do it, do
yeah.
it. See if you really like it.
Right, because you never
Oh,
know. It could be something that you'll do for the rest of your life, and it'll mold who you are as a person now.
exactly. Well,
So,
do you remember? I'm trying to think how many years ago it was. I had a reading done, and the the woman told me that I had two kids, and she knew nothing about me.
mhm,
I had two kids, and that in past lives, both of my children were warriors,
mhm.
and they had come back to be warriors in this life. And I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Checks out. And that we were from like a higher warrior caste in the tribe,
I think I
and that
remember you telling me about
and
that.
that we had been traveling together for a while in different lives.
Right. Yeah, I think I do remember you telling me about this. This was a while ago.
Yeah, I was trying. It was quite a while ago,
Yeah, but it does ring a bell.
and it makes sense
Yeah,
with you
absolutely.
guys.
Yeah.
So I know we had said, that you obviously you're very busy with work and getting ready for a wedding,
Yeah.
which is a lot of work.
Yeah, I actually was just working on that too before I left, writing up script and all that fun stuff.
Which is I'm so excited that I get to marry you guys, and I
You're
promise.
gonna like the script I've been writing up. I'm gonna send you a draft here and probably after sometime after we're done here.
Okay, I promise not to cry during the ceremony.
Well,
I'm
it's
going to
okay.
I'm
Even if
gonna ball before and
I
after.
know, I know. Even if you do during, that's fine. It's okay. It's totally
um,
okay.
but you still, like we talked, you still lead a quote unquote spiritual life.
Absolutely. And I always have. And I mean, yeah, it's definitely, especially with my current employment, which I mean, I work for the railroad. I mean, there's going to be a fair amount of people that understand. Oh, yeah, he works for the railroad. He's going to have time for himself.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the way it is with the job. But it's incredibly helped me and my future wife to really set us up for the future. Get our own place. S- Save up for a really nice trip for a honeymoon.
Yes.
You know, things of that nature. And I've been fortunate. I've been able to spoil myself and my loved ones, So I can't complain. Yeah, I don't have much time to do much anymore, which does suck. It absolutely does. But that doesn't mean it's fully gone. Like my sword fighting stuff. I'll still go out there and I have a Pell, that I go practice on, and I still do my practices and stuff
Good.
occasionally. When I actually have the time. Um And, when it comes to, like, spiritual stuff, I mean, I literally I just bought the Prozetta last night or the other day, and I've been reading that, and I'm almost done with it.
Well, you've always been a reader. You
Yeah,
devour.
I know. It's so funny though, because like, man, my reading has, like, tanked. Since I moved here, I have barely read, and I'm like, "Dude, I need to get back into it." Because I've always enjoyed it. I mean, you knew that. I
Yeah.
I mean, I remember in middle school, I read The Hobbit, like, oh, Jesus, I don't even know how many times.
Say, I don't know. You were out. You loved that book
I
so much.
I know, I still have a copy of it somewhere, you know? And I always enjoyed books because I've always enjoyed just whether it's fascinating tales or whether it's you're learning something when it comes to history or whatever. It's just fascinating to read that stuff and absorb it. And I mean, I've gone on spurts at times where I'm like researching a specific topic, and I've got like 3 different books, or I've got something, online I'm reading as well. I'm like cross-referencing things. You know, I love that stuff. It's one of those weird niches that I've always enjoyed.
You love, you have always loved to gain knowledge.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I've always felt a calling towards kind of like Odin, when it comes to like the Norse pantheon, because he is the All Father, he is the wise one. I mean, and he's his specific life teachings for every single person. And I mean, like one of the biggest just life teachings is from the story of why he has only one eye. He gave up his eye, he sacrificed his eye in order to gain all knowledge, which that in of itself is a lesson, because you cannot get something without sacrificing something.
It's always give and take.
It's
Always.
always, that's how life always is. And it's like right now, I am sacrificing a lot of my leisure time and things I enjoy to do to, set me and my future wife up, for the
Exactly.
future.
A give and take, and then it will come back to you, once you
Right.
get your time in there.
Absolutely. And that's the one thing you know, spirituality has always been a very important thing to me. I mean, there was, granted, when before growing up, I mean, I didn't. Honestly, I mean, I didn't really. It wasn't one of those things I was always looking at. Granted, I was younger. I had other things on my goddamn mind.
Right, right.
You
But
know,
you always lived in that mindset.
right, right. Whether it was knowingly or unknowingly.
Right.
Um, and said now it's not a matter of, okay, I'm not doing big elaborate rituals or anything of the sorts. And I mean, I'll still, like I said, burn some incense, whatever. I have my specific iconography that I will wear with me on a daily basis, that has very heavy meaning for me. Um,
And that's what it's about. Like, you don't have to do those crazy, crazy elaborate rituals to still have your spirituality.
right.
Like you, it's wearing your pendant
Hmm.
on a daily, knowing that that's what really matters to you. Having your little statues up, your
Hmm.
altar up, that you just
Which is
maybe,
actually right behind me.
oh, I know. And actually, on that note, I have another candle for you and another oil that I got for you.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say that candle like you sent me. I don't even want to burn it. It's cool.
Yeah, Brad, Jackie made that.
Oh,
Jackie made.
really? That's
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I was like, dude, that's super cool. I was super, super hyped about that.
yeah. I was like, oh, I have to get one for Deuce. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's cool.
but that's what's like, that it's just your daily life. It doesn't have to be big rituals. It doesn't have to be an hour worth of meditation,
No,
like on a daily basis. Like most people don't have that kind of time. I
no,
don't.
all right, and absolutely. I mean, and now I mean, modern life is incredibly busy. I mean, not to say that people in like the Middle Ages or whatever had lax lives. They didn't by any means. No,
No, it
but
was
they
busy in a different way.
But they and two, we have to consider nowadays, we have a lot of distractions that we can do. I mean, like video games or whatever, there's a lot of things as for recreational purposes that back then they did not have. So a lot of that kind of stuff gets kind of put off to the side because we're constantly distracting ourselves with modern amenities.
Exactly, exactly.
But not to say that like I being since moving here, I have had some of the most impactful like spiritual experiences here. Like especially when I went on my first hunt up
I was
here.
just gonna say, well,
Yeah.
where you're at. It's beautiful country.
Oh, yeah.
You're you're like out in nature more than you were here in, LA.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, like I said, my first hunt up here, which was the very first year I moved up here, I went muzzleloader hunting with a coworker of mine at the time, and I got my first deer. It was quite early in the morning, but I had a deer tag and I had an elk tag for that season. So I already filled my deer tag, and I was like, perfect. You know what? I'm kind of just here to kind of hang out, and if we come across an elk, perfect. If not, no big deal. But it was the next day where we were actually doing some like actual elk tracking and whatnot. I specifically remember we went up to the very peak of a mountain called Smoky Mountain, and we just sat up on the hill and I watched the sunrise up there. It I cannot explain the feelings I felt just sitting there, and it was like -20.
Too cold.
I'm serious. It was -20. I was sitting, my butt was wet and cold because I was sitting in the snow, but I just that was one of those moments where, like, I felt at tune with everything that was around me, and I'd say it's an experience that I don't know if could be ever replicated again. It
Probably not.
no, but it's one I will probably forever remember.
And that right there, Deuce, that is spirituality.
Right.
You know, having that connection with nature and that connection with the universe and feeling that,
Mhm.
like, that I would even say is beyond having some big ginormous ritual,
Right.
you
I mean,
know?
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, cause like for me, spirituality, or if you want to call it a religion or whatever, you know, you can believe in a pantheon by all means. If that's what calls to you, that's what calls to you. And that's, I think what I'm trying to get to the point is essentially what it comes down to is what is calling to you, what calls to you, and it might require some searching. I mean, I did a little searching myself, and for now, I mean, this is my calling. This is what I've always been called to, was kind of the Germanic kind of northern, pantheon per se. And just with, especially where I live now, it kind of
Fits.
it fits a lot more. Yeah, because I mean, I'm maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes away from being in the woods.
I know, which is
Would
amazing.
so it's not that far. Yeah, granted, I still live in a city. I would rather not live in a city. I'd like to have my own plot of land where I can go do whatever on.
I say, well, that's for now. I'm
Right.
sure in the future you will.
That's the
And
goal. That's the
yeah.
goal, is I want to buy a plot of land up here and then throw a house on it and all that.
And
American
then
Frontstead thing.
I'll come up and live
Yeah,
in the
we'll
middle of nowhere with the dogs.
yeah, we'll build a little witchy cabin for you. Build all your stuff and ship it out.
Be perfect. I'd be in
Yeah,
heaven.
absolutely. But yeah, so that's, I mean, my spiritual journey, it's still going, and then it's still ongoing. I mean, and
And
I've
it's
talked.
gonna be.
Oh, absolutely, and I mean, and it's never going to be a thing. I don't think that's ever going to end.
No, no,
I
no,
could be
I
I
don't
could
think
be
at all.
70 years old and crotchety and pissed off like my grandpa, but
I was just gonna say like your papa.
yeah, but I'll still have that spiritualism, or I guess, what am I trying to say here? Just the look for, like, either a purpose, or I don't know.
You're
There's a lot. I mean,
I know. I'm like because it's always that growth, the self-knowledge, the self-awareness, the awareness of the universe
Mhm,
and of all the energies.
absolutely.
I don't think that that's something that you you either hit a certain age or you hit a certain part in your life and you're like, "Oh, I got it, I'm done.
Yeah, right.
I
No,
don't think that that happens.
it's a constantly evolving and learning experience. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I mean, even now I'm at a kind of I guess a low point. I'm trying to get back up, you know what I mean?
It's
That's
I would say it's a low point, Deuce. I
right.
would say there are other things right now that need your attention, more of your attention in life than doing rituals and that kind of thing. You still have it with you. You're still experiencing and still learning about yourself. You're still growing, but there's other places that need your immediate attention, I guess is a better way to say it.
Right, making a sacrifice to
Yeah,
gain a benefit in another aspect.
exactly. And we are in this realm, for whatever reason we came back to this dimension, realm, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
And so you have to live accordingly. You have to pay your bills. You have to have money to have food, or grow food, or, you
Yeah,
know, I
absolutely,
was
yeah.
just tilling up the garden again so we can replant. But, you know, you have to do those things because we are a spirit living in a human body. And if this human body doesn't get food and doesn't have a place to stay, you really can't do any growth if you don't have that,
No. No, you can't do much.
you
Can't do
know?
much in this life without it.
No, you really can't, unfortunately.
No, and it's kind of interesting because it's when you split it up, between a soul and body kind of thing, it's almost fascinating to kind of ponder, because I mean, in reality, I don't think one will ever know the full extent of where their soul or spirit has been. And granted, I will say, I mean, there are exceptional few, who say who claim that know all about their previous lives or anything like that. But just to sit and ponder about how you where you are at now at this time can improve your soul to hopefully let your soul have a better life in the next cycle.
It's
It's
a lot to
it
think of.
is. And there's
It's a
a
lot.
absolutely, and well, and it's uh, not every person thinks like that.
No,
We've talked
we
about
had
that
that
as well.
when you guys were younger. I'm sure you remember we had those talks. That to be a spiritual person and to decide to come back and be a spiritual person, 9 times out of 10 it makes your life a little harder.
It's not an easy path.
It's not an easy path because if you just didn't give a shit, you could just be really like happy go lucky and everything's cool, and you're just happy with going to
Yeah,
work every day.
with what's going on, and
Yeah,
you're not really trying to make an improvement upon yourself to really better whether it's yourself or even other people's lives, with a lot of searching, soul searching, as you would some people would say, um, and figuring out, okay, well, what makes what's resonates with my day to day, my being, when what's gonna help improve me and become better for it, and hopefully maybe I can pass on said teachings to hopefully improve other people's lives, like kind of
exactly.
you do. I mean, that's you do so much work and whatnot to try and put the information out there to try and help other people try and find themselves and better themselves, because I mean that's what you are. You are a spiritual guide. I mean that's what you are. I mean,
But it's hard,
I
and
yeah, it's not
you
easy.
know
Yeah,
that, like, because
absolutely. No,
you
it's
know that
taxing.
it's very taxing. It's very taxing on you as a person, on your soul, because you're constantly learning.
Well, and you're always given energy So there's times where you're gonna feel completely drained.
That was literally last night because we were
Right.
supposed to last night, and I son, it was terrible. I tattooed, and then I literally came home. Dave made me a salad, and he looked at me and he goes, "Do you just want to go to bed?" And I was all, "Yeah, I really do. Yeah." So
I don't blame you there. I have nights like that when I gotta work like 12-hour shifts or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with anything right now.
yeah, I was like, I got Lulu, got Luna laid down,
Mm.
and Dave even put on a show. I know it was something about Abraham Lincoln, and that's about all I know.
That was about it.
And I was done.
Out.
I was out like a light.
Yes.
Literally, I was like, curled up with the smushies.
Yes. No, but I
But
think
it is. It's and what I think is interesting in a sense, not only about like our family, like me,
Mhm.
your sister, you, but also if you kind of expand and you look at um, Papa and Nana and the kids,
Yeah.
you can tell the ones that picked to come back here to make a change and to work in the spiritual work and to that have the gifts, if you want to call
Right.
them that, gifts, and the ones that are just here. And there's
Right.
nothing wrong with that. Like there
No.
is, I don't want people to think that I'm saying that. There's nothing
No.
wrong with just being here. That's what your soul picked this time. Maybe you
Uh,
needed a fucking break.
yeah, I was about to say, there's times where a soul just needs its rest and it doesn't need to do this soul searching. And
Yeah.
and granted, I personally don't think that not every soul needs to.
No, I don't think
That's
that's
I don't think that's the goal. I mean, every spirit has its own purpose in life, and whether it's ordained by whomever or what, you know, everyone has their own fate or deal that's written up for them, and that is a path that they will almost always pursue. Whether it's living a normal life, which is nothing wrong with that. There's times I wish I could live a normal life.
me too, son. Trust
It's like,
there's days I'm like, why couldn't I just pick to just like, I don't know, like do hair or just be
what?
okay with like being a housewife or some shit. No, I gotta do all this spirituality and work on myself. And yeah,
Yeah,
trust me, I get it.
I
But you
under
can't go back.
no, well, no, like I said, once it's deemed for you, you're there. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're kind of no getting out of it, but it's always a learning experience for that current life to hopefully better the next, and
And
that's
that, I mean, I think that's the point. Like,
mhm,
either you decide to come back to learn other skills, learn other things,
mhm,
um, work through emotions that, maybe you needed to learn to deal with in different ways. Um, or to come back and to give teachings to people that you possibly remember or that you've worked through in your other lives,
mhm.
or you just wanted to learn more. There was experience that you had to go through to learn, so then you could take that on and be able to teach other people in maybe your next life.
Right. That's
But I think that there's a reason that you come back. There's kind of I don't want to say set things because I do think we have free will. I think everyone
yeah,
has
we
free will.
yes, we I don't wanna derail you there, but I like that. I've always enjoyed the subject of, like, talking about, like, fate or, like a destined life path or anything of that nature, because I do believe everyone has free will no matter what. But
I
what
agree.
I do believe is I do believe it all is destined to end, how it is written. whoever ordains it or makes it so. That end thing that was made by whomever will happen.
Mhm.
But the point two there is up to you.
Well, I think that there are certain things you're supposed to um, experience. You're supposed to go through certain trials, tribulations, and they can change again depending on free will.
Mm.
But things that you needed to learn from to be able to give that knowledge to other people or grow in yourself, but like, I mean, as easy as, okay, Luna is supposed to get the ball.
Right.
There's a million ways for her to get that ball.
Hmm.
So there's a million ways that your soul can go through these experiences and you can learn from them. There's not just a straight shot.
All right. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of like branches, like on a tree. You have a
Exactly.
lot of different paths that are able to be gone through, but in the end, you go to the root. You end up at the root of said tree. No matter what path you take, whether it's this branch up here or this branch down here, you still end up towards the root of the tree. That's how
Exactly.
camera's being all wonky. There we go.
I see Kitty going back and forth.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. My little familiar.
Yes, yes. So I think we'll definitely have you come back
Oh yeah.
many times. There's lots of things that we
Oh,
can go off and talk about. But I think that a really wonderful thing that you brought up, and that I think that a lot of people probably need to hear, Deuce, is just because you're not doing big rituals and you're not meditating for an hour a day doesn't mean you're not being a spiritual person.
no.
That you can still be spiritual, you can still experience spirituality, you can still have connection
Mhm.
to whether it be deity or source or the universe or whatever you want to call it,
Right.
or whatever you want to work with,
Absolutely, yeah.
and still go through life. I think some people think that, which is that's a whole other subject we can go off on, and we're running out of time, but
I know.
I and we'll hit that one again,
Yeah.
because the whole idea of what real life is versus what people are seeing on social media, that you have to have these amazing, elaborate, beautiful rituals, and that these people are meditating in the by the ocean for an
N
hour a day.
no,
You
no.
know, that's not most people's reality.
No, and that's just because the average person just does not have, unfortunately, that much time to dedicate.
Yeah.
You know, that's how like with how I'm at. I mean, I don't have right now really a lot of time. Like right now, I have a little bit of downtime, but I'm reading and yeah, I'm kind of working towards
Well, it's you're still taking the steps. You're still
right.
doing,
But
you know.
but in the end, spirituality or working with whatever deity that you specifically want to work with or is calling to you, that that just should come naturally. It should not be a forced thing.
Totally.
If said deity or whatever, you know, wants to reach out to you, they will.
And they'll send you
I
light.
Right, exactly. That I've been reached out many times. I mean, there's times that's why like right now I'm like I think that's what's happening is I've had a reaching out to and I'm getting to a point where I'm like, okay, let's try and rein it back in. Let's try and get back into the way of how I used to do things, of reading, of just getting more in touch with my spirituality.
Well, I mean, I would say Odin reached out to you, but like 15, 16,
Oh yeah.
maybe even younger dudes.
Yeah, especially when I was doing a lot of research when it came to heritage and
Yeah.
uh, I mean, yeah, because I mean, I remember in that time in school, I was doing a lot of research when it came to kind of our family heritage with your side and my dad's side, and
Mhm.
um, then figuring out, okay, well, let's go to kind of the Middle Ages, which because I've always kind of had an interest in the Middle Ages, and figuring out, okay, well, what was the practices then, this and that, and it kind of just exploded from there, and it really just grabbed me. It did.
It
I mean,
did.
it or just sidewinded me right in the side of the head. I mean, like, oh wow, yeah,
Completely.
and
Completely.
it did, and it's one of those things. You're being crazy. It's one of those things I'm never gonna not pursue. It's become a part of my life. Come here.
Yeah. It's, like we said, it's your everyday life. It's what you do just on a constant. Like it's always in your head.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not. Yes, I mean maybe way long ago. I mean it, and then that's a whole other conversation. But
I know. So I'm like, we could go on.
I know. Well, just to kind of, I guess, try and keep it short is, and what I've kind of been saying the whole time is, do what calls to you. If you feel the need to do a big elaborate rituals, do big elaborate rituals.
Right. No
But
one's saying don't. We're just saying
absolutely,
you don't have to.
but don't feel pressured to do big elaborate rituals because someone else is doing them. If that is not what is calling to you, if that does not feel right to you, don't do it.
Right.
There's no point. You're wasting at that point, in my opinion, you're kind of wasting energy in that where you could be manifesting that energy towards whatever, towards,
Yeah. Whatever you're working on.
right,
And
whatever you're working on, working with, what habit.
that's a perfect thing. I mean, for the people that these big elaborate rituals mean something, that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of energy.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if that's what calls to you, do it. But if it isn't, and maybe you don't have that kind of expendable energy at
Right.
that point to
Or
be
even
doing
when it
those things.
or even when it comes down to income.
Yes.
Because I was listening to one of your other podcasts that kind of talked about that. I don't remember who you were talking to, but you're talking about, these big elaborate rituals, and it's not about spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a nice big altar. It's keep it simple.
You remember when you were young, when we lived in Morristown and we were poor.
Hmm.
We were poor. But that didn't stop me from doing big fire rituals in the backyard that literally consisted of parts of a trees in the backyard and the plants that I was growing.
Yeah, no,
You know?
no, and it should never stop you. I mean, like I said, that's a whole other subject for
Yeah.
another day.
That's what I'm saying.
I know, we're so bad about that.
So
But
yeah, on that note, we're at almost, well, we got
yeah, almost 50 minutes. Yeah.
um but um I really, I know you are busy and I know you're crazy busy right now. But thank you for coming on and
Well,
talking
absolutely.
on
That's
not just
it.
not you and me talking like in our crazy
Oh, I
crazy
know.
self,
Well, and this, I mean,
but
yes, this conversation was a lot quite rambly too, and I mean, but that's what it it's what it should be. I mean, if you're talking from the heart or talking from the soul, you know what I mean? You're gonna just go everywhere.
it's what needs to be said. It's what
Yeah,
needs to be said when it's supposed to be said
absolutely.
and it comes out.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have you back.
Hopefully another day when I'm not busy.
I know that's the hard part is finding time when you're not busy and I'm not busy that we can actually do this.
Hmm.
But we will definitely be posting things too from the wedding because it's going to be amazing.
Yes. Yeah, which I'm excited for you to see the write up. I've took some inspiration from a book that I have, and
Ooh.
I ran it by the soon to be wife, and she actually really likes it. She wants to do little changes to it, which is I'm totally up for. But I also want to get your input
Okay.
as my spiritual guide, you know. for
One,
it.
it would be cute too if we could have Sadie come on too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think she would. She's gonna be a little nervous, little wreck, but I think I can drag her on here.
Yeah. She
Yeah,
doesn't have to talk much. She can just sit there.
I know.
Sit there, be cute.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks as always for hanging out with us. I know we were a little rambly today, but this is an insight as to what it's like, what the conversations are like with me and my kids.
Yes,
This
absolutely.
is a normal conversation that we have on a daily. Well, not daily anymore, but
Yeah, but they
we
usually last for about 3 hours, and then we forget. Oh yeah, we should probably
yeah.
get off the
They
horn and
all.
actually do something.
Are you gonna go to bed? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Deuce.
Thank you.
We will have you back. We should
Yes.
do one, I think, with you talking about the warrior spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be an
I would really
awesome.
like that.
Yeah, I can actually write things down and formulate my thoughts properly too.
Well, we were supposed to do it last night, and then
Yeah,
mom
it's
was
yeah,
exhausted.
it
So
no big deal. It happens. I mean, life happens. So like that.
we'll definitely do it again.
Absolutely. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it was. Okay, guys, don't
Okay.
forget, like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And make sure you go over and you follow us on Instagram.
Mhm.
We do have our subscribers now that we do our full moon and new moon rituals for. We include you in those. You get to watch them live. And we also give little tidbits of, little spell recipes or little extra one-on-one time with me. We've been doing once a week question and answers with me, so you guys can ask me just about anything within reason.
I was about to say them all.
Yes,
Yeah,
we get some weirdos.
I bet.
Uh, welcome to Mom's Life. You know this.
Oh, I know.
The weirdos love me.
Yes.
But again, thanks, guys. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon. Blessed be.
Goodbye.